Supreme Court justices are hearing a case over abortion access in Idaho.
Now, this is the first time that the justices are reviewing a state restriction on abortion since they overturned Roe v. Wade almost 2 years ago.
CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford is at the Supreme Court. Jan, I know you've been listening to the hearing so far. What are some of the key takeaways that you've noticed?
Well, I mean, first of all, the court is very deeply divided on this, and I don't think after the arguments, which lasted a good 2 hours, we have a clear sense of what the court is going to do. Sometimes when you come out of an argument, you have a pretty good idea. This one, emotions ran very high, and so in that sense, it was a pretty fascinating argument as the justices struggled over this very restrictive Idaho abortion ban, which only allows doctors to perform abortions when a mother's life is at stake or in cases of rape or incest. The Biden administration is arguing that a almost 40-year-old federal law trumps that abortion law in Idaho because this law would require doctors and hospitals to provide emergency kind of stabilizing care for pregnant women when they go in the emergency room. And that care, the Biden administration argues, could include abortion. So we saw so much of the argument, the three liberal justices anyway, really focusing on what that means practically, how a woman who could go to the emergency room bleeding and her health really in jeopardy may not be able to get an abortion in Idaho because of the law that allows it only if her life is at stake. And so this is the question now, will this federal law kind of trump that Idaho law and allow doctors to perform abortions where the mother's health is at stake as well?
All right. Jen, explain to our audience more about how the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act plays a role in this case, because I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out how this is different from the Dobbs decision and all the other debates about abortion that are taking place across the country.
Right, and so you're referring to the federal law that was passed in 1986, and the shorthand acronym of it is called EMTALA. And so after the Supreme Court issued that decision in Dobbs 2 years ago, the Biden administration pretty quickly started looking for ways that the federal government could step in and try to expand access to women in states where it was pretty clear they were going to try to ban almost all abortions. And so one of the laws that they identified was this 1986 federal law that says hospitals that get federal funding have to provide emergency care to people, even if they can't afford it, so that they can be stabilized. So the Biden administration is arguing that this, 8-year-old law should also trump that new Idaho statute on abortion, because doctors in Idaho should be able to perform emergency care to stabilize patients when a woman's health is in jeopardy. Now, remember, in Idaho, they don't allow abortions when the health is in jeopardy, only when the mother's life is at stake. So that's the question there. Are doctors in Idaho, emergency room doctors, going to be able to perform abortions where the woman's health is in jeopardy, where, she may suffer, as we heard today, and many examples from some of the liberal justices, life-altering consequences if she is denied care? Because in some cases, if a woman presents who's pregnant and she's got some kind of condition, an abortion may be required to keep her if she's hemorrhaging or to preserve her reproductive organs. There were countless examples of that, which really made the argument incredibly emotional at times and very powerful.
And so, Jan, for our viewers watching from all over the country, we have this map showing where there are restrictive abortion policies post-Dobbs. What could a decision mean if they rule against EMTALA and allow Idaho's kind of law to stand?
So if that's the case and the court says, we don't agree with the Biden administration here, Idaho has its law, and that's the law in Idaho, and the only exception is if the woman's life is at stake, then that would affect those other states with restrictive laws and allowing those laws to stand. So it really wouldn't necessarily change the landscape. It would mean that if other states, and there are 6 other states in addition to Idaho that have this almost near total ban with only an exception for the mother's life, that women in those states would have to go elsewhere to get care if it's their health and not their life. The flip side of that, though, is if the Biden administration wins in this case, that will undermine not only Idaho's law that restricts very severely abortion access, those other states that also have similar laws, but about 15 or so other states, more than 20, as you pointed out, that have these new restrictions in the wake of Dobbs. So it would kind of weaken some of those restrictions as well. And that is what the Idaho Attorney General and conservative officials in Idaho say the Biden administration really is trying to do. That this is just a backdoor way to try to change the law back to the way it was before the Supreme Court even handed down that ruling in Dobbs, to make abortion access more readily available for all women across the country.
This is such an important decision with women's health at the center of it all. Jan Crawford, thanks for giving us the latest. We appreciate it.
Thank you.